Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Our first story about how one employee proved his worth to his boss and ended up having no more issues with him. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. And our first story. I run this store. Nothing moves without my say-so. 4 years ago, I worked in a store for a large, well-known, and well-hated telecom in Canada. I started out as a sales rep, then was quickly promoted to assistant manager because I'm a fast learner. I constantly crushed sales targets and always offered to train staff for new store openings. Joe, the regional manager, seemed to like me and was nice, which I thought was because I'm the only woman in a store with all men, but tenured sales reps warned me that he was always nice to sales reps and rude to managers. One day, our store manager, SM, Rick, gets fired for skipping work to watch a hockey game. He was actually seen on TV in the front row stands cheering after calling in too sick to move. And a few coworkers went out with him afterwards, where he drunkenly bragged about calling in sick to said hockey game. Joe didn't hire a new SM because of cost, so he asked me to run the store, but without the title or pay. No problem. I love my job and the staff. I even come in on my days off to make sure the staff are okay and check on supplies. I'm also the first black ASM in the region in ages, so I felt like I had something to prove. A few months go by and a customer comes in wanting to open up a small business account with 6 lines. I verified the company is real, credit check, HST number, etc., and processed the sale for her. 4 black iPhone 7s, a rose gold iPhone 7 Plus, and a BlackBerry. Massive commission for me, even bigger commission for Joe. Joe comes to the store the next day wanting to talk about the sale. I thought I messed up along the way or it got flagged for fraud. Nope. He was PO'd that I sold the store's last rose gold iPhone 7 Plus instead of holding on to it because he wanted to take it out of inventory to give it to his daughter. For free, which is against company policy, and the rose gold iPhone 7 Plus was on backorder. I tell him that it's better for us to sell the phone, and I didn't know he wanted to take it out of inventory or give it away, and it's completely against company policy anyway. What happens next is this grown-a 6'5" man throws a tantrum. I'm talking about fists balled up at the sides, shrieking, "You don't run anything here! This is my store! You're not the store manager! My name is on file as store manager and regional manager! Nothing happens in this store without my say-so! Nobody breathes unless I say so!" I calmly straighten out my uniform and nod, thinking, "You run crap, and I just work here? Got it. All right, Denzel, you're going to learn today." Cue malicious compliance. He leaves, and the other staff ask, "WTF was that yelling about?" I say, "Well, boys, I don't run crap. I just work here. If you need anything, and I literally mean anything at any time, call Joe." I stopped ordering, scheduling, etc., and did nothing for the next 2 days before my previously scheduled upcoming 4 days off. Day 1 of my day off, and one of the staff call me in a panic. "OP, I noticed there's only 1 roll of toilet paper left. Can you stop by and order more?" I said, "Nope, sorry, call Joe if you need anything, and don't call me on my days off anymore." Click. My staff support me and ring Joe's phone nonstop for those 4 days with the most mundane crap. "Hey, Joe, we're out of toilet paper. Can you get us some?" "Hi, Joe. The windows are dirty. What should I do?" "Yo, Joe, what's the schedule for next week? OP didn't make one." "Yeah, Joe, we're trying to process a bring your own device COAM monthly plan, but I don't remember what the dummy IME is. And I can't continue in the system without it." "What is it?" "Hey, Joe, we're out of SIM cards, so can't process any more sales involving phones at all." "Hey, Joe, we're on our last few sheets of printing paper, so can't print contracts." "Hey, Joe, I came in early to set up the new marketing, but I noticed there's a light bulb out in one of the fixtures. What do I do?" "Joe, Andy left roast chicken bones and cake in the break area overnight, and now the store's overrun by ants. Please send help." Joe calls and texts me nonstop, but I'm off for the next 4 days, so I ignore everything. Sit at home, bake some cookies, spend time with my boyfriend, now husband, hit another mall and go shopping, get my nails done, get my hair done, and relish in the thought of Joe's stupid face stressed TF out in an ant infestation and his stupid eyes bulging out of his head every time my staff call asking for toilet paper. I come in for my next shift, relaxed, fresh silk-pressed hair, and killer nails, and Joe is already waiting for me in the back. OP, why is the staff calling and asking me ridiculous questions the last few days? Why are we running out of critical supplies? The halt sales. Me. Well, Joe, you told me that nothing moves without your say-so and that I don't run anything in the store. You do. So I told them if they need anything to call you, the person who runs the store. Cue the confused Pikachu look on his face. Not like that. I mean, like, just please run the store as you see fit. There are ants everywhere and the floors are sticky, and I brought you guys some SIM cards. He scurries out of the store. I graduate from university that year and applied for a role at head office. Joe got upset and said he didn't want to lose me at the store and dangled the thought of making me store manager if I stayed. Oh well, at that point I just wanted out. I aced the interviews and got hired. I've been here ever since, and I never have to interact with Joe. F you and the ants, Joe. And our second story. Come in or you're fired. I worked at a huge retail store. I'd been there for about 2 years and was taking my first vacation, a nice 5-day camping and kayaking 1 state away. I did my due diligence, scheduled everything in the computer about 3 months ahead, got written and verbal agreement from a few managers, all that. A month ahead of my trip, it was approved, so we made our plans official. Leading up to my trip, I reminded all levels of management that the trip was happening. They all remembered, wished me a safe journey, all that jazz. So on the fated Monday, I left. Wednesday, I got a work call but was on vacation, so I let it ring through to voicemail. Thursday, my phone rang about 10 times in a row, all from work, so I decided to listen to the voicemail to find out what was going on. Turns out they scheduled me Wednesday through Sunday, and today is now the second call no-show. If I don't come in for my shift, I'm fired. Well, I called them back and explained that I'm 4 hours away on my approved vacation. Doesn't matter. Come in or get fired. I asked my girlfriend what she wanted to do. The weather was kind of crappy anyway, so we decided to pack up and go home, stopping at work on the way in. We get there about 2 hours before my shift ends. I walk into HR's office and grab some forms and then find the managers who called me. We go to a meeting with 2 extra managers so they can fire me for 2 no-calls. I produce the paperwork showing how everyone in my management chain approved this and the printout showing I was on vacation. A bit of yelling happened. Finally, one manager was chewed out and they told me I could go. This is where the malicious compliance happens. I pulled out the forms from HR and say, "Actually," and hand them to the reigning manager in the room. He looks at me like I grew 4 heads and asked if I was serious. I told him dead serious. "You interrupted my vacation?" So he sighed, signed them, and left. Those forms? Time clock adjustments and mileage reimbursement. I billed them 9 hours for the 2-way trip, 4 there, 4 back, and an hour for the meeting, and gas for the trip. I happily went home and my girlfriend and I proceeded to be lazy all week. It was great. So not only were we going to probably come home early anyway due to weather, but the company paid for the gas to get there and back, as well as 9 hours of overtime on top of my vacation pay. I worked there for about another year with no problems. Want me to come into work during my crappy vacation? Gladly. And our third story. Trying to fire me? Well, I'll make your job hell. For backstory, my mother is a director of nursing for a nursing facility. And she'd been working there for almost 8 years, and she'd written tons of papers to make her job easier and help out the nurses. She had thousands of papers of useful information to make their jobs easier, especially for the Dawn. Her work had hired an administrator in training to become their new administrator. Let's call her Beck, and they thought she was smart, nice, and all-around good person, and they were completely wrong. Beck thought she knew everything about her job, which she didn't, and was generally stupid. Beck also thought she was able to boss around the nurses, which she had no authority over since she did not have a nursing license, and my mom told all the staff one-on-one that they did not have to listen to her or do what she says. This upset her, so she started to despise my mother. Once she became an administrator, she made a plan to fire my mother, which was going to happen, and my mother found out from another administrator this was happening, And this is when my mom started her revenge. She saved all of her files and papers that were on the computers, and then she proceeded to delete them off the computers completely and shredded the thousands of papers with the help of Beck, since she was pretending to be so nice to her, knowing she was being fired soon, and didn't even read the papers being shredded. Over a span of 3 weeks, she took home all her personal papers and emptied everything. And finally, she changed the password to her computer, knowing they would have to send it off to get it unlocked again. She even told, accidentally, that she had posted her job application for another business to try and tell them she knew what they were doing and they were completely oblivious. The day she got fired, within 3 hours of being fired, she was having constant phone calls and texts asking where all the papers and information was, and she simply replied, "It's all in my head." The following 5 months for the new Dawn and Beck was a living hell, since the staff respected my mother very much, and Beck was a B to all staff and they hated her. After 5 months, they called her back, asking her to come back and that Beck was being fired, and Beck found out my mother was coming back. She repeatedly called my mother until she answered the phone, and Beck talked about how she was happy to be working with her again, which was obviously bullcrap. My mom responded with, "Thank you for welcoming me back, but it's a shame we won't be working together," and hung up. Beck was PO'd the following day when my mother came back and found out she was being fired. And our last story. You want me to break code? Okay. So I work as an interrogator working on smart homes and such. We don't really have any government codes other than being so far from gas lines. However, my boss wanted me to break this very code when wiring for a house to cheapen expenses for less wire. Otherwise, we would have had to pull wire from one side of the house to the other, then into the basement, rather than just pulling straight down and across. Basically, we would cut material costs down by about 65%. However, I knew it was wrong, told him code, but he said it would be fine. Well, as it turns out, I did exactly what he told me to do, but the owner of our company was not pleased. The house failed inspection, we were the main cause, and I got blamed for it. Little did my boss know that I recorded all notes that he gave me and timestamped them in our official documents, and pictures were included in the notes. Cover your butt, folks. Anyways, my boss got chewed out and I got to save my job. A little malicious compliance turns into a load of satisfaction. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.